So we are actively engaged in Henry. How you doing, my brother? Love you, man. I'm on my Wakanda things. I got, Wakanda forever. If you haven't seen Black Panther, go get it or go see it. No, don't go get it. Don't go get it. I didn't. That came out wrong. That came out all the way wrong. Don't go get it. Anybody trying to sell it to you, don't buy it. Right? I know it's the $5 hookup. I'm gonna ask you to restrain yourself from buying it at this point. Don't go. Somebody said bootleg. That's the only way to get it at this point. Don't go buy it. Go see it. Go see it. Just the imagery in it, the words. It's because I was man, I don't want to get off. I was at a leadership summit for black men. Was presenting at a leadership summit and spoke on a panel at a leadership summit for young black boys at Malcolm X College. I believe it was last year. Was that last year? Last year. And Adama, I don't know if you're up there, but city colleges would not allow media to come into the room to see a room full of young black men, right? Not perfectly behaved, but well behaved. They would not allow media in to come see men who had just probably gone through some of the similar struggles, but who through some way or another managed to make it through and was wanting to pour back into the souls of these young boys, these young men. And for some reason, they didn't want the news media, not even a press release, to say, here is something good happening on the near west side of Chicago. Right? And so we have to be willing to tell our own story. We have to be willing to tell our own story. And so for love languages, today's love languages is receiving gifts. And has there been some value and benefit in this series for you so far? Wonderful, wonderful, thank you. The first love language that was covered by Reverend Atkins was the love language of words of affirmation, where she shared with us the extent to which those of us who speak as our receptive love languages, those of us who need words of affirmation, she shared with us the value of what we feel when we receive the words of affirmation from our significant other. On last week, the lesson was around a quality time and what it means to be able to recognize that your mate, your spouse, your partner, your significant other, be able to recognize and provide the level of quality time that they need in order to feel secure in our love. Is that what we talked about last week? Yes. And as we are talking about these relationships, remember that there are 6 primary relationships. There are 6 primary relationships. There is the relationship with God. There is the self-connection. There is the mate connection. There is the friend connection. There is the parent connection. There is the child connection. And so each of us, say each of us. Each of us live into these 6 primary relationships. And so these primary relationships are intended to be significant relationships for us. But we recognize that we are each threefold beings. We are spirit, soul, and body. And as spirit, soul, and body, we certainly recognize that in order for you to be fed and supported in all of the aspects of what you are, in order for you to be well-rounded, it helps for you to know how to live a productive life. And if your relationships are broken, it becomes infinitely more difficult to live a productive life. Are you with me? And so then being able to understand your love language and being able to understand the love language of your significant other or those with which you share a primary relationship is important if we intend to create and maintain healthy relational experiences, right? Because we are spiritual beings. It's how we're made. We are all made healthy, whole, and complete. Repeat after me. I am made healthy, whole, and complete. This is my nature. But each of us is nurtured through our relationships. So your nature can be one thing, but how you are nurtured can be something else. Are you with me? And so we are nurtured through our relationships, and our nature is spiritual, and both influences and informs the degree to which we are able to learn how to best let our light shine. Are you still with me? So we are hardwired, say hardwired, for healthy, significant relationships. But relationships mean so much to us, in fact, that we will chase after unhealthy relationships if we cannot get a healthy relationship. And so it's important that you be able to live into significant, say significant, relationships. Now again, when I am talking about significant relationships, I am talking about it the way we mean it in the scholarly field when we are doing research. When we're doing scholarly research and we say that a thing is significant, we say that a result is significant, it means that that result did not happen by chance. It means that there is almost no chance that it happened by chance. And so when I'm talking about your significant relationships that you have within your primary connections, I am talking about relationships, again, that you are highly intentional in how you are creating what the experience is. Are you still with me? So when we're talking about significant relationships, we might not be talking about Netflixing and chilling. You have to decide. I'm not deciding for you. I'm not saying Netflix and chill is not significant. Some of you are like, what does that mean? If you don't get it, don't worry about it. It's for somebody else. Make some noise if you know what Netflix and chill means. A lot of y'all getting it in. And so we live for a relationship. Are you with me? We need each other. And our primary relationships are intended to help us be better in our life, world, and affairs. Relationships are important to us. We have said that inside of each one of us, Gary Chapman has said that inside each one of us is an emotional tank. And that tank is waiting to be filled. We said on last week that every aspect of a primary relationship that you are in, the person or people with which you are in relationship have a responsibility. Say responsibility. They have a responsibility to fill your tank. So if it is the personal relationship that you have with yourself, it is your responsibility to fill your emotional tank. And if you get it twisted and think that it is your friend's responsibility or your mate's responsibility to fill it outside of your desire to fill it yourself, you will find yourself leaning on somebody to do something for you that you are not doing for yourself. And nobody can give you what you won't even give yourself. So each of us in our primary relationship has a responsibility to expect that those with which we are in relationship will fill us up. It is the Father's good pleasure to fill your emotional tank. But you got to check in from time to time. It takes more than just checking in with God when it's going wrong. If you want your emotional tank to be filled up by the fulfilling Spirit of God, you have to walk with God. Is that right? And so When we, in relationship, take responsibility for filling our significant other's tank, we communicate to them that they are secure in our love. We communicate to them that we have a home for their heart. We communicate to them that they are accepted, that we want them, that we respect them, and that we are committed to their well-being. How many of you want relationships like that? All right. So then, if your love language is receiving gifts, I ain't even get this ain't much more than 4 or 5 minutes into the lesson. Just full disclosure, First Lady is clapping because one of her she has 4 of the 5 love languages for starters. That's for starters. But one of the ones that pulls most heavily is gifts, receiving gifts. And so, for those of you who are like her, who have the love language of receiving gifts, then gifts and gestures show you that you are accepted, wanted, respected, and you are that more so than what it takes to get the gift. Are you with me? So Ralph Emerson says that the only gift is a portion of yourself. To someone who talks gifts, giving a gift is you giving a portion of yourself. Are you with me? So they are receiving the gift as a part of your thoughtfulness for them. So if my primary love language is receiving gifts, then my emotional tank is filled by the gifts that I have received over the years. And I will see those gifts as an expression of your love. So hear me. If you have a mate, a partner, a significant other, a friend whose primary love language is receiving gifts, then they are receiving the gift as a token and symbol of your love. No gift equals, thank you, you with me. Rock with me, rock with me, rock with me. Gift equals, all right, you got it. Very good, very good. So for someone who speaks gifts, who talks gifts, when there is no, say, visual symbol, when there is no visual symbol, the gift represents the visual symbol. The gift is not the thing itself. The gift for someone who speaks receiving gifts, the gifts is the visual symbol of your love. Are you still with me? And so, again, if you give no gift to someone who speaks receiving gifts, they question your love. They question whether or not you are giving them a portion of yourself. So, for someone whose language is gifts, gifts are the symbol of love. Now, for someone who is attached to someone who speaks gifts, just know that gifts can come in all sizes, shapes, and colors. They can cost or they cannot cost. So it's not about the price tag attached to the gift. It's about your thoughtfulness for them. Are you still with me? So if your significant other's primary love language is receiving gifts, you can become a proficient gift giver. As a matter of fact, according to Gary Chapman, it's one of the easiest languages to learn. But it can be, say can be, it can be the hardest language to justify. Yeah, I know I got an amen person. If you sitting next to a gift, to someone who speaks receiving gifts, just keep looking right up here at me. Because, can I keep it 1,000? Because some of us see those who speak this language, we see them as being materialistic. Are you with me? So we are projecting on, say projecting onto, we are projecting onto their language our understanding. Are you hear me? So I want to say that again. So for those of us who assume that if our significant other, if our mate, if our partner, if their primary language is receiving gifts, and we find ourselves feeling like that's overly materialistic, just know that you are projecting your understanding onto the language that they speak. So it would be like running into someone who speaks another language, and because they speak African or Swahili, you assume that they are wrong because of what they speak. They just speak what they speak. They speak what they speak based upon how they were raised. Yeah? They speak what they speak based upon how they are conditioned. Yeah? They speak what they speak based upon what they've learned. And so they didn't just show up wanting you to give gifts. As a matter of fact, you probably got them. Because you were prone to give gifts. Now, if your partner, your mate, your friend, your significant other, if they often criticize your gifts, if they generally don't like the gifts that you give, you may be trying to speak a language that they don't speak. Because someone who receives gifts as a part of their love language, you can bring them a pack of gum or a cup of coffee and they will be excited about the gift that you have given them. So if your partner is a gift talker, remember that you start like a gymnast, meaning you begin with a perfect score and you start to lose points with every mistake and every misstep and every missed opportunity to give a gift to a gift talker. Are you with me? Now, if you don't, I still want to, because if you are in relationship with a gift talker, I just want to help you because you have to find your motivation. And motivation is not always easy to find, right? Motivation is not always easy to find. There was a rich businessman who had more than 500 oil-producing wells on his property. He had more than 10,000 heads of cattle, and he had a daughter who was about to be at the age of marriage. And so he called all of the eligible bachelors in the town and in the surrounding neighborhoods to his home to present his daughter to them. But as a part of the test through which he wanted to vet them, he filled his Olympic-sized pool with water-eating snakes and alligators. And he said to all of the bachelors, anyone who can swim from one end of the pool to the other will receive either $5 million or 1,000 acres of my best land or my daughter's hand in marriage, and she is my only heir. And so as he was wrapping up his statement, there was a splash at one end of the pool. And shortly after that splash, there was a young man who came out on the other end of the pool. And when he came out of the pool, the rich businessman said to him, "You have won the challenge. What do you want? Do you want the $5 million? He said, still dripping wet. No, sir. He said, do you want the 1,000 acres of my best land? He said, no, sir. He said, do you want my marriage, my daughter's hand in marriage? He said, no, sir. What I want to know is the dude who pushed me in the pool. If your significant other speaks receiving gifts as a love language, you're going to have to find your motivation to help them feel secure in your love. Are you with me? So then how do we make sure that we can help and support, make our significant other feel secure? The first thing you have to do is recognize how to communicate. Say how to communicate. So remember, communication is a symbolic process. Remember, communication is a symbolic process. How many of you know that the symbol is not necessarily the thing? Are you with me? So the symbol isn't necessarily the thing, but if I said to you, fire, 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 whether there was a fire or not, you would start to move as though there were. So you don't necessarily have the thing in order to be moved. You don't necessarily have to have the thing in order to be moved by the symbol. So for someone who speaks this love language, your communication is the symbolic process whereby the meaning of the relationship is being produced, maintained, repaired, and transformed. So when you are giving gifts, they are feeling loved, and when you are not, they are feeling unloved. You still with me? Now, so we have to be able to, if our significant other speaks this love language, we have to be able to communicate with thoughtfulness. Say, communicate with thoughtfulness. In James, he writes that every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights. We say that one of the best gifts that we have received from God is the power of thought. Are you still with me? Because it is thought that gives us the ability to create and shape our life, world, and affairs. Is that right? Now, it is also thought that influences attitude. Yeah? So now, if thought influences attitude, and attitude says to those with which we are in relationship, if attitude communicates the worth with which we hold them, for someone whose symbol of love is a gift, then thoughtlessness is a sign that you hold them in a worthless position. Right? Here is what I'm saying. Here is what I'm saying. I'm saying if your mate, your partner, your friend, your significant other, if their love language is receiving gifts and you give no gifts, they get the message that they are not worth it. And if you are not worth it, it's easy to go from not worth it to worthless. Are you with me? I know someone who shared a story about as a child wanting to receive gifts. And their family was poor, and since the family was poor, during Christmas, the family was not able to provide the gifts to the child. Because the person's love language was receiving gifts, they came to learn that the lack of receiving a gift was the symbol of their sense of worthlessness to those who couldn't provide them. So in the eyes of their parents, they saw the inability to receive gifts as a message of worthlessness. Are you still with me? That ain't too heavy for you, is it? You still good? All right, keep walking with me. So we have to be able to communicate with thoughtfulness. The second thing we have to be able to do, how to communicate, we have to be willing to make our mate a priority. You have to make your mate a priority. Because what your honey is looking for is intentionality. They are looking for the proof. Say proof. They are looking for the proof that she or he is worth the effort. So when you're in the airport returning back from your business trip, that little magnet that's on the thing for $3, if you grab that magnet and you give it to someone whose primary love language is receiving gifts, that magnet says that I was thinking about you even though I wasn't with you. It's something how a little magnet can lead to a whole lot of woo, woo, woo. I just want to keep it 1,000. I would make that change every time. I don't know about you. I give that $3 every time. So next, yeah, somebody's supposed to be praying. So next, what actions do we take? What actions do we take? What actions do we take? What actions do we take if your friend, your mate, your partner, your significant other, if their primary love language is receiving gifts, what actions can you take? I just want to remind you that you will spend, just this year alone, you will spend nearly 27 hours in front of a traffic light, waiting for the light to turn the color that you want it to turn. I just want to suggest to you that while you are spending so much time at the stoplight, stop and give some time to consider what kind of gifts you can give to your significant other if their primary love language is receiving gifts. So do this. Make a list of the gifts your spouse has expressed excitement about. They could be gifts that you gave. They can be gifts that their friends gave. Make a list so that you know what turns them on. I mean that literally. I just want to keep it 1,000. Second thing you can do is give thoughtful gifts and gestures. Give thoughtful gifts and gestures. See, if your mate speaks relationships, it's not difficult to tell if there was no thought in the gift you gave. So all gifts are not equal. Like every now and again, I'm going to out myself. Every now and again, I will come home with great excitement with flowers. You might have given me flowers. Just for the record, like if you give me flowers, I'm going to re-gift them flowers. And so, Earl, I come home excited with these flowers. And because Sylvia's first or primary love language is receiving gifts, one, she knows that I ain't buy them flowers. And doesn't matter how excited I am about the flowers, when I give them to her, she's not excited about receiving the flowers because there was not a lot of thought put into the flowers. You gave them to me, I gave them to her. Kind of like you do with that fruitcake that they give you for Christmas. And so if it does not have the right intention, say intention. If it does not have the right intention behind it, then it's not going to have the desired outcome. Are you still with me? Next, remember that small things matter in a very big way. Small things matter in a very big way. Now, hear me, if you are someone whose primary love language is receiving gifts, and if one of the gestures that you appreciate is the gesture of your mate's time, then I want to challenge you to let your mate know that you feel loved when they spend their time with you as a gesture or a gift. Because most of us assume that because we are together, we want to be together. But oftentimes, you can be together and he can want to be someplace else. I don't mean it like that. I mean, he doesn't need to be under you in order to be with you. That's what I mean. He doesn't have to be under you in order to be with you. As a matter of fact, unless his love language is quality time, he probably does not want to be under you in order to be with you. See, because when he is under you, it reminds him of when he was under his mother. Are you with me? And when you need him to be under you like he was under his mother, he starts to resent you because he's not looking for another mother, he's looking for a partner. And so what turns him on is the ability to say in his own power, I will be right here looking at TV. Or I will be in the garage fiddling under the hood of this truck. Or I will be at the golf course putting on the putting green. Are you with me? So if you need the gift or the gesture of his presence, then you need to communicate that, and you need to communicate the why so that it does not, when you demand it, when you ask for it, when you request it, it doesn't sound like his mama's telling him to come wash the dishes. That's not going to work out well. So let's go to the things to avoid. Let's go to things to avoid. So if your significant other's primary love language is gifts, avoid forgetting special occasions. Do not miss, put this in your notes, put it in capital letters, underline it. Do not miss birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas. Do not miss those, because those are the times. Listen, I know somebody who gets excited for my birthday because I'm going to receive gifts, and they see my gifts as our gifts. So if your people in your life are as excited about your birthday as they are about theirs, you cannot miss it. Avoid that. Next thing you want to avoid is you want to avoid being lazy when you give gifts. I don't know how many of you remember Marcella Davis? I remember Marcella Davis telling this story in class one time. She says in her family and with her friends, apparently she used to make these wonderful pound cakes. And she said these pound cakes were legendary. And on this particular occasion, she had been asked to make a cake, and she didn't really feel like making a cake, but she made it anyway. So when her friend tasted the cake, she said, Marcella, are you sure you made this cake? Marcella, yeah, I know. In that sweet Marcella Davis voice, yeah, I know I made the cake. When she said, well, Marcella, it sure don't taste like you put no love into it. Because you have to be, you cannot get lazy when it comes to providing gifts to those whose primary love language is receiving gifts. Next thing to avoid, and we'll close. If you are not sure whether or not your partner, your mate, your friend, your significant other, if you're not sure whether or not their primary language is receiving gifts, then I want to put you on caution to make sure that your desire to speak the language is not feeding someone who might be a gold digger. So you need to be clear so that you will not be being used in your love, because you either speak the language or want to make sure that you can speak the language of somebody who is receiving gifts. So you heard me say you deserve to be appreciated and celebrated. You've never heard me say you deserve to be used. And so don't let anybody use you no matter what. Amen. How many of you know who you are? How many of you know what you are? How many of you know how great you are? I love you, CUT. Happy Heritage Day. Happy Heritage Day. We honor your heritage, whatever that heritage is. We love you. We bless you. We thank you for celebrating and adding the consciousness of your heritage to this collective consciousness. For there is power in this collective consciousness. And it's not just the power of those of us who are in this room. We carry forward with us the power of those who've gone before us. We carry forward the ability to work through struggle, because it's not the first time we've had a difficult time. We carry forward the ability to remain determined and committed to what we are, because we know who we are. Is that right?